Hey guys, this is Tauna and welcome to the first of my hopefully well done. I don't know, you guys let me know how you guys like the presentation, but the first of my new kind of series on some budget deck brews. I'm going to be going through a whole bunch of commanders. So if there's a commander you want to see in the future, let me know down below and what you'd like to see in it and that kind of stuff. And I can go through, but we're going to start with Marchesa the Black Rose. This is one that I've been wanting to build for myself and for my wife, who we're trying to get into the game at the moment. But I think that this is going to suit her very, very well. So Marchesa the Black Rose is a Grixis commander that has a very interesting mechanic. So she has Dethrone herself, which means that when you attack the player with the most life or tied for the most life, you're going to put a +1/+1 counter onto her. Now, all of your other creatures are also going to have that Dethrone. And then whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it dies, keep in mind that does include Marchesa, you get to return that card to the battlefield under your control at the beginning of the next end step. So there are so many different ways that we're going to take advantage of all of this, whether it's the Dethrone attacking and stuff, whether it's going to be, the +1 resurrection, all that kind of stuff. We're going to take advantage of everything. Make sure that you guys subscribe, make sure you share the video around and all that kind of stuff, because this could be the last video you see from me, this could be the first video you see from me, and I want to make sure that you guys get more of our amazing content here. So let's get started. We're going to start out with some more +1/+1 stuff, chucking out as many +1s onto things. So we've got stuff like Gev. Gev is an amazing card in this because it's going to make it that all your creatures enter with additional +1/+1 counters on them for each opponent who lost life this turn. So all you need to do is ping like one person with one creature and boom, now everything that enters is going to get some counters onto it. If you manage to hit all three opponents, then now they're all entering with +3/+3, like 3 counters. Really great way to get these counters on, because we want to make sure that we're getting the counters on. We don't necessarily want to rely on only Marchesa for it, especially because, if Marchesa's gone, or just being able to purely get them out ready for her. So we got also Canonized in Blood, making it so that whenever we descend, we get +1/+1s. Drana puts +1s onto all attacking creatures, and then Unspeakable Symbol is a really easy way for us to do it. Now, the great thing about Unspeakable Symbol, and keep this in mind, is that we can put this on enemy creatures. Now, that is very helpful for something that's going to come up later on. So we've also got more ways to do it as well. We've got like Thran Vigil, we've got Wizard Class, Feast of the Fallen, Iron Apprentice. We want to make it so that basically anything that happens on the board, we're going to get value from it in regards to our creatures. We're going to put +1s onto our stuff. Now we need to buff them up, right? We've got a whole bunch of creatures. We've got 10 creatures out here that all have a +1/+1 onto it, but they're all potentially, just 2/2s or something. This way, we're going to turn them all into powerhouses themselves. We're going to give them Death Touch. We're going to make it so they can't be blocked. We're going to give them Haste. We're going to give them Menace. Just all of these great keywords going to be spread across all our creatures with these. That's going to make it so that, we get additional +1s because we keep that Dethrone there, right? We're going to make it so that enemies aren't going to want to block us because, we've got Death Touch. Give us Haste so we can go the turn that we're coming out. It's just really great to get a whole bunch of value out onto these creatures. Then we can also use these counters for other things like Chasm Skulker. So when it dies, it's going to create squids based on the +1s that it's got. Feign the Broker. We can get rid of these counters to create some treasures. Ayara's Oathsworn is amazing. We get to tutor something up from it by by having exactly 4 +1s on it. That means that if we get to 4, we can, kill it off somehow and then bring it back, and now we get to start that again and just continuously keep doing this cycle of it dying, coming back, getting up to +4/+4 counters, and then going searching something up and putting it into our hand. Saga of the Fables, we can get rid of our +1s to get cards. Now, the other thing is that if we've got +1s on all our creatures, right, we can just sacrifice these creatures. We don't care, right? You're going to come back. I don't care if I kill you. So we've got like Siren Storm Tamer here, which we can counter spells with it by just sacking it. If it's got a +1 on it, boom, now it's coming back. It's got Flying. It's likely going to be able to easily get one. We've got Into the Pit, which lets us cast cards from the top of our library by simply sacrificing something that comes back anyway. Shifting Shadows. chuck that on something. We're going to, at the beginning of our upkeep, we're going to destroy it and then reveal the cards until we find another creature, put it onto the battlefield, put Shifting Shadows onto it, get a +1/+1 onto it as soon as possible, and boom, we're going to keep going. Kethic, at the beginning of your end step, you can sacrifice something and then you get to reveal something until you find a non-legendary with it. Really great ways to just be able to sack those creatures that have +1s on it, because they're going to come back and then get so much value from it. Next, we're going to steal our opponent's stuff. So as I said before about, if we put a +1 onto an enemy's stuff, it's going to just stay over there, right? Then we could use something like Mob Rule, right? So that's going to gain control of all these creatures if they've got +1s on them. If you read the way Marchesa works, the creatures just have to be under our control when they die. So why don't we bring all these creatures over here from our enemies, and now we can sack them, we can, whatever, as long as they've got +1s on them, they're going to come back. So over here, Mob Rule, gain control of everything, sack them all with some of our stuff, and then if we get +1s onto them, now they come back. Grave Betrayal is insane. This is the best card in this deck. Whenever a creature you don't control dies, return it to the battlefield under your control with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. That means that now everything that dies is going to go back to our battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it. If someone board wipes, guess what happens? They come back under your control again. It's so great. We've also got Missy here that's going to allow us to be able to steal things, because whenever a non-artifact creature dies, it's going to return to the battlefield as a face-down 2/2 Cyberman. Really great way to be able to pump up our board. Now, unfortunately, we're going to have basically two options, right? We should have two replacement effects. We've got Missy, which is whenever it dies, return to the battlefield. And then we've got Marchesa. Now, unfortunately, because Missy is immediate, she will replace Marchesa, so they will come back as 2/2s. Cybermen face down, not as their original versions, which is a little bit unfortunate. But then we go put +1/+1s on all those Cybermen. They go in and attack, and then they die, go back into the graveyards, but they died under your control, so now they're coming back. But this time they're face up. Really great way to do it. I love that, Missy in this. We've got Dax Duplicate as well, which is going to allow us to be able to shapeshift into something that has dethrone as well as haste, so we can steal an opponent's thing. It's going to be really cool. Now, we're going to have a lot of things potentially coming back into the battlefield, especially from our graveyard, which means River Kelpie is going to draw us 1,000,000 cards, Flayer of the Hatebound dealing so much damage, Warstorm Surge, again, dealing so much damage. We can also use that for a removal. If we put a +1/+1 onto an enemy's thing, and then we can remove it, if we don't have another way to get rid of it or anything like that, or, we can do so much stuff with Warstorm Surge as either removal or just straight burn. And then Sataru is very awesome in this deck, because these creatures are coming back. We're not casting mana to get them back. We're going to draw cards. Now, the thing is, there is potential that Marchesa might die. It's just going to potentially happen. So we're going to have ways to be able to bring her back. Archpriest of the Shadows can bring her back, and Whip of Erebos can bring her back. Unfortunately, she gets exiled at the beginning of next end step, so then she goes back into the command zone, but we can get an extra use out of her. But hear me out. Undying creatures are insane in this deck, right? Undying means that when they die, if they had no +1/+1s on it, they return to the battlefield under your control with a +1/+1 on it. Then it's got a +1/+1, so then it dies, and Marchesa can just bring it back then. Really, really awesome. I love it. And yeah, it's just some great ways to bring it back. The other thing is that we need to protect our future queen, right? We don't want her to die as much as possible. So we're going to have Essence Capture here. It's going to target a creature spell from an enemy, counter it, but it's going to also be able to allow us to put a +1/+1 onto it. Negate to be able to, just counter something, slip out the back, put a +1 on her, and then she phases out. Boom, really great. And then we've got Feign Death here as well. When this creature dies, return to the battlefield tapped. Now, while she is phased out, she won't be able to get her, she won't be able to return things to the battlefield, unfortunately, but it's going to allow her to at least be able to stay alive, which is nice. And then finally, we're going to have some removal in here. Wither and Bloom is a great one because one, it's removal, but then two, you can also exile it later on to put a +1/+1 onto a target creature you control. We've got Chain Reaction and Blasphemous Act as just some board wipes, and then Lethal Scheme as another single target removal here, except on top of this one, we can convoke it and then put +1s onto things that we convoke. So this is the deck. Obviously, you guys aren't going to be able to read that very well, but the link to the Architect is going to be down in the comments and the description for you guys. The total cost at the moment is sitting at $49.81. So this is, a below $50 deck that is going to play very well. A very interesting deck that's going to be based around, these +1 counters and bringing creatures back. So some recursion in there and just overall, even some theft and stuff. Just some, lots of really different game plans to kind of meld well together into this very fun deck that you can pick up very cheaply. So there's also some upgrades. I've put I think it's 11 different upgrades onto the list, but there's different upgrades you can add. This is just a small selection of it. Wave Goodbye is just a removal to get rid of everything that doesn't have a +1/+1 onto it. Gissa is going to let us be able to steal things from opponents. They die under our control, and then boom, as long as they've got a +1 onto it, they come back. We've got Marchesa, gives all of our non-humans undying. Danny Pink lets us, whenever we attack, put a +1 onto something. But the second part here, whenever one or more counters are put onto a creature, put onto this creature for the first time each turn, draw a card, and he gives that to all of your creatures. So you get to draw so many cards with him. It's bonkers. So yeah, that's my deck here for Marchesa. I probably pronounced her name wrong the whole time. But either way, I'm really hoping that you guys enjoy this. I hope you guys enjoy the presentation of it and stuff as well. It took me a bit more time than I usually do on my videos. So let me know what you guys think of that. So let me know what you think and what other decks you'd love to see me cover in the future. Have a great day and goodbye.